One of the more unsung crafts in the world of filmmaking is that of stunt coordination, which no action movie would be able to succeed without. While the majority of movie stunts are meticulously planned out to ensure they go off without a hitch, there are of course times when things don't go right. And so these 10 stunts all went completely wrong, yet still found their way onto the big screen regardless. So let's dive into our list. I'm Adam, this is Whatculture, and here are 10 movie stunts that went very wrong, but are still in the film. Number 10. Tom Cruise breaks his ankle, Mission Impossible Fallout. Given Tom Cruise's insistence to perform almost all of his own stunts in the Mission Impossible movies, it's frankly surprising the man hasn't injured himself more. Yet things finally caught up with the actor Stuntman while shooting the series' 6th installment, Fallout, when he was tasked with leaping across rooftops in London. When Cruise contacted with the building on the other side of his jump, his foot smashed against the side of it, instantly breaking his ankle. This resulted in production being shut down for 7 weeks while he recovered, costing an eye-watering $80 million, which was thankfully covered by insurance. However, director Christopher McQuarrie decided to include the fateful take in the final film itself, complete with a pained Cruise pulling himself up onto the rooftop and hobbling out of shot. Number 9. Stuntman Guy Norris gets thrown through the air and breaks his femur, Mad Max 2. The stunts in all 4 Mad Max movies are so impressively brutal that it's genuinely surprising nobody died during the making of them. Yet the second film certainly had a gnarly near miss when stuntman Guy Norris performed a risky stunt during the movie's climax. Norris played a member of villain Lord Humungous's Marauder gang, who was supposed to ride a motorcycle into an overturned buggy and flip over the top towards an off-screen area padded with cardboard boxes. Except, Norris ended up accidentally clipping his knee on the buggy at the moment of impact, causing him to be uncontrollably catapulted through the air, rotating numerous times before hitting the ground. This left Norris with a broken femur, yet because the resulting stunt looks so damn awesome, director George Miller couldn't bring himself to throw the take out. The final stunt looks so carefully planned given how Norris flies through the air that you'd never really guess it went completely wrong. Despite his sidelining injury, Norris returned to the film set mere days later to complete a fight scene with Mel Gibson, while propping his broken leg on a box just outside of frame. Number 8. A plane crashes into other planes unexpectedly, Torah Torah Torah. 1970 war epic Torah 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 dramatizes the 1941 Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, complete with mesmerizing practical effects and stunts, including a memorable sequence where Allied aircraft on the ground are destroyed by Japanese planes. A planned stunt for the sequence involved an American P-40 Warhawk airplane exploding as it attempts to take off, with explosives rigged inside the plane set to detonate via remote control. However, the controls for both the explosives and the plane failed, causing the aircraft to crash into other planes parked in the area and sending debris flying all over the airfield. At this point, the plane finally exploded as planned, all while a large number of extras could be seen desperately fleeing the scene. Thankfully, no one was harmed and the stunt looked fantastic, so it made it into the final cut. Number 7. Stuntman Rick Sylvester's parachute is almost destroyed, The Spy Who Loved Me. One of the most famous stunts in cinema history occurs in The Spy Who Loved Me's pre-title sequence, when James Bond skis off the side of a mountain to evade his pursuers, and after free-falling for a stomach-knotting amount of time, deploys a parachute to ensure his safe landing. The sequence was executed entirely in camera without any optical trickery, with stuntman Rick Sylvester hired to straight up ski off the edge of Canada's Mount Asgard and parachute his way to safety. The stunt ultimately cost $500,000, making it the most expensive movie stunt ever at the time, and though the end result looks absolutely spectacular in the film, it's easy to miss that Sylvester came incredibly close to total disaster. The stunt required Sylvester to ditch his skis mid-air before deploying his parachute, yet the skis ended up falling directly into the stuntman's path as he opened the chute, making contact with the top of it. This presented a massive risk for Sylvester, given the potential for the skis to pierce or otherwise damage the chute and leave him hurtling towards the ground without assistance. Thankfully, the chute resisted the impact and Sylvester made it to the ground in one piece, ensuring the most ambitious stunt in the series' history didn't become a tragic footnote. Number 6. Bradley Cooper almost suffocates himself with a plastic bag, burnt. Bradley Cooper's mostly forgettable 2015 drama Burnt stars the actor as self-destructive celebrity chef Adam Jones, who, near the end of the movie, gets blind drunk and turns up at the restaurant of his rival Montgomery Reese, played by Matthew Reese. Adam then grabs a plastic bag and places it over his head in an attempt to suffocate himself, prompting an exasperated Reese to subdue him and rip the bag off. This stunt wasn't actually in the original script though, and was improvised by Cooper on set. However, he evidently didn't appreciate the very real risk that forcing a tight plastic bag over his head presented, and began to suffocate for real. Thankfully, co-star Reese acted quickly and helped to tear the bag off his head, with the entire take being kept in the final film by director John Wells. In interviews, Cooper mentioned that this act of life-saving created a bond between him and Reese. Number 5. Jim Cavezel gets flogged for real when his back guard slips, The Passion of the Christ. By far the most memorable sequence in The Passion of the Christ is the flogging scene, a nauseatingly prolonged scene in which Jesus Christ, Jim Cavezel, is whipped until his back is a bloody mess. The scene was pulled off by having Cavezel wear a back guard while he was being whipped, with gory makeup and sound design intended to do most of the heavy lifting. However, Cavezel was accidentally flogged for real when the back guard slipped, resulting in his back being whipped twice with a real flogger, causing a 14-inch gash on his back. Cavezel said of the very real agony he felt in that moment, "It hit me with such a velocity that I couldn't breathe. It's like getting the wind knocked out of you. The stinging is so horrific that you can't get air." Gibson consequently decided to use the grueling take, which if nothing else only adds to the visceral discomfort of an already deeply unsettling scene. Number 4. Stuntwoman Cheryl Wheeler hits a pillar and falls 30 feet, Back to the Future Part 2. Back to the Future Part 2's terrific hoverboard chase sequence climaxes with Griff Tannen and his gang of goons being catapulted through the glass facade entrance of Hill Valley Courthouse Mall. And while it's fair to assume that such a potentially dangerous stunt was executed under extremely controlled conditions, that's not quite the case. Stuntwoman Cheryl Wheeler doubled for the female member of Griff's gang, and has since stated that she was skeptical of the stunt's safety before taking part in it. The plan was for the 4 stunt performers to be launched towards the glass window with cables, which would be cut just as they made contact with the glass and landed safely on a crash mat inside the mall. However, as the 4 were launched towards the glass, Wheeler veered off course and hit one of the large stone pillars, resulting in her cable being cut before she hit the glass, causing her to fall 30 feet into the unpadded ground below. Wheeler ultimately received injuries to her face, arm, and hand, albeit none which were lasting effects or hampered her career. Though we don't actually get to see Wheeler fall to the ground prematurely in the film, we do see her make contact with the pillar and hang awkwardly in the air for a moment, before Robert Zemeckis abruptly cuts to an interior shot of the other stunt folk crashing through the glass. Number 3. A civilian vehicle gets hit during a car chase, The French Connection. The classic crime thriller is best remembered for its climactic car chase, in which Popeye commandeers a civilian's car in order to chase a hitman who is riding an elevated train through the streets of New York City. The chase came together late in production and was more or less shot guerrilla style, with no shooting permits obtained and only a meager NYPD presence, meaning that the stunt drivers often ran lights for real and were driving alongside regular folk just going about their day. As a result, the sequence faced a number of unintended accidents, including a beat where Gene Hackman's stunt driver crashes his car into a white 1968 Ford Torino. The Torino wasn't a stunt car at all. It was a man simply driving to work who ended up inadvertently caught up in shooting and suffered for it. The production reportedly paid all the repair costs for his vehicle, which, yeah, is the absolute least they could have done. Number 2. Stuntman Shea Adams hits his helmet on the bike's front tire, Ghost Rider. Early on in 2007's Ghost Rider film, stuntman Johnny Blaze is injured when attempting to jump his motorcycle over a fleet of trucks. As Johnny makes it to the other side, the bike falters and he's catapulted from it. Though stuntman Shea Adams was absolutely supposed to fall from the bike, it wasn't planned for his helmet to also hit the motorbike's front tire, causing the helmet's visor to shatter for real. While online reports about the severity of Adams' injuries vary, the fact that he worked as a stuntman on 4 films the very next year suggests it wasn't too debilitating. All the same, the final shot of Adams falling off the bike looks so damn gnarly that there was no way it wasn't going to be included in the movie itself. You might assume the moment of impact was generated by CGI for safety reasons, but it indeed happened practically, albeit only by accident. Number 1. Stone Cold Steve Austin broke Sylvester Stallone's neck during a fight scene, The Expendables. One of the more memorable moments in The Expendables involves Sylvester Stallone and wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin coming to blows in a climactic fight. Rather than let the stunt performers do the hard work, the duo decided to throw down themselves, shooting the entire sequence without outside assistance. Yet things turned vicious in Sly's words, during an action beat where Austin picked up Stallone and hurled him to the ground. Stallone hit the floor with such force that he received a hairline neck fracture, later requiring him to have a very serious operation where a metal plate was inserted into his neck. Impressively, Stallone didn't realize the full extent of his injuries until a routine doctor's visit a week later, where he was informed that fluid building up around the fracture could have killed him had he waited much longer. Austin was reportedly horrified when he later heard the extent of his co-star's injuries, until Sly called to assure him that there was no hard feelings. Stallone, who also directed the film, unsurprisingly included the moment, which frankly looks great, even if most audiences assumed that Stallone had been safely tossed onto a crash mat.